बराए ताजील ज़हूर इमाम ज़मां बुलंदतर सलावत। एक और सलावत पढ़ दीजिए मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद पर। आज भी ज़ैनब की आती है सदा भाई हुसैन, आज भी ज़ैनब की आती है सदा भाई हुसैन। तेरा चेहरा तेरी आँखें भूल कब पाई हुसैन। चलते नाके से गिराया खुद को जलती रेत पर, चलते नाके से गिराया खुद को जलती रेत पर। घुटनियों के बल में तेरी लाश तक आए हुसैन। बस में घबराई थी खंजर तुझ पे चलता देख कर, बस में घबराई थी खंजर तुझ पे चलता देख कर। फिर किसी मुश्किल में घिर कर मैं न घबराए हुसैन। आज भी ज़ैनब की आती है सदा भाई हुसैन। कौन था जो मरने वालों मैं नहीं था खूबरू। कौन था जो मरने वालों मैं नहीं था खूबरू। भूलने बैठी तो किस किस की न याद आए हुसैन। आज भी ज़ैनब की आती है सदा भाई हुसैन। देखती हूँ खाके मक़तल की तो भर आता है दिल। देखती हूँ खाके मक़तल की तो भर आता है दिल। खाक पर मैं कैसे कैसे फूल छोड़ाए हुसैन। तेरा चेहरा तेरी आँखें भूल कब पाए हुसैन। आज भी ज़ैनब की आती है सदा भाई हुसैन। दूर उफ्तादा सफर से लौट कर मैंने नवेद दूर उफ्तादा सफर से लौट कर मैंने नवेद ठंडा पानी जब पिया तो तेरी याद आई हुसैन ठंडा पानी जब पिया बस तेरी याद आई हुसैन आज भी ज़ैनब की आती है सदा भाई हुसैन तेरा चेहरा तेरी आँखें भूल कब पाई हुसैन आज भी ज़ैनब की आती है सदा भाई हुसैन बर मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद सलावत
Hajj Mohamedraza, Janmohamed, my dearest elders, brothers and sisters in Iman, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Surah Fatiha is requested for all marhumin listed on the screen as well as all other marhumin. Surah Al-Mubarak Al-Fatiha. Dua Shfa Mirrors is requested for all those who are in need here and elsewhere, as well as those listed on the screen. Let us recite together. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Amma yujibu al-mustarra iza da'ahu wa yakhshifu as-su'. Amma yujibu al-mustarra iza da'ahu wa yakhshifu as-su'. أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء يا الله. Just have two important announcements before the majlis. Firstly, all those men who are willing to recite du'as in the month of Ramadan are requested to sign up if they haven't done so. Spots are running out very fast. And secondly, Brother Mohamedraza, Janmohamed will be doing fiqh masails regarding fasting after Maghrib and prayers on Saturday and on Sunday. Members are requested to please come and attend. At this time, let us invite Al-Hajj Mohamedraza Janmohamed, please come forward and recite tonight's majlis. Muhammad wa Muhammad sallallahu.
رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يحصي نعماه العادون ولا يؤدي حقه المجتهدون الذي لا يدركه بعد الهمم ولا يناله غوص الفتن الذي ليس لصفته حد محدود ولا نعت موجود ولا وقت معدود ولا عجل ممدود فترى الخلائق بقدرته ونشر الرياح برحمته ووتد بالصخور ميدان عرضه والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم والصلاة والسلام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين واللعن الله على أعدائهم أجمعين. قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المجيد وفرقانه الحميد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يريدون ليطفئوا نور الله بأفواههم والله متم نوره ولو كره الكافرون آمنا بالله وصدق الله العلي العظيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Saf, the 61st surah, ayah number 8, tells us that the desire to put out the light of Allah with their mouths, but Allah will perfect His light, though the unbelievers may be averse. Last week we began a discussion on the situation and the circumstances that prevailed from the time after the shahadat of our 8th Imam, during the imamat of the 9th, 10th and 11th Imams, such that there was so much surveillance on the 11th Imam that they wanted to prevent the birth of the 12th Imam, the Imam of our time, Imam al-Hujjah, Qaim Ali Muhammad Ajjarallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif. These Banu Abbas kings, that was the time of Banu Abbas, were such that they simply focused on how to prevent the birth of the Qaim, so that they knew for a fact that because Rasulullah had predicted that there would come the Qaim and that he would establish justice and that he would remove all forms of oppression and injustice, they wanted to prevent the birth of the Qaim. When they failed to get the Qaim's birth in their lineage, which was Ma'mun, what he thought about getting his daughter Al-Fadl married to the 9th Imam. When that plan failed and the 10th Imam was born through another wife of the 9th Imam, this is what they plotted. They killed the 9th Imam. They put the 10th Imam in almost house arrest, and the 11th Imam was watched every moment, because up to 11th Imam, when he was already born, they wanted to watch him and they wanted to make sure that he does not have any form of marriage or conjugal rights. Now, these Banu Abbas had degraded themselves to such a level that all they did was aish, as we say in our language, that they misappropriated everything that came to Baytul Mal. They were not worried about how to govern and how to establish justice in society. Such was the effect and such was their plan that they even employed the Turks, the Turkish people, to come and run the Muslim empire for them, the government. They were after the Ahlul-bayt only, and all friends of Ahlul-bayt were persecuted to the highest level. Now, we must understand one very important aspect before we go into the history of this, and that is that the 11th Imam's life was very, very short. He lived for only 28 years. He is the second youngest Imam after the 9th Imam. The 9th Imam was killed when he was 25. The 11th Imam was killed when he was only 28. And within that short span of life, he had to establish a very important aspect, because after him there was going to be the Imam, which was going to be in a different format from what was established from the time of Rasulullah. How so? Because when Rasulullah left this world, he left behind Amir al-Mu'mineen Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib salawatullahi wasalamu alayh to represent him and to continue with the mission of guidance to the people. And from the first Imam up to the 11th Imam, people always had somebody, an Imam within them, within the society where they could go and get their answers, get their advice, and move forward with life in an Islamic manner. It is another matter that Muslims and others, people of those times, did not take full advantage during this 250-year period. From the time of Rasulullah's Shahadat up to the time of 11th Imam Shahadat is a full period of 250 years. And Muslims did not take advantage the way they should have during this period. That is another discussion. Now, so Imam had to prepare, and this preparation had begun from the time of the 8th Imam. He had begun this, and in fact even from the 6th Imam, but from the 8th Imam it was more active. And the period of the 9th and 10th Imams was very short also. So this new era had to come, and the 11th Imam had to prepare for the ghaibah of the Imam. Because the format of Imamat after the 11 Imams was that the Imam would guide people from the rail of ghaibah. So, in that case, Imam had two very close companions. This was father and son. The father was Uthman. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. The father was Uthman ibn Sayyid al-Amri as-Samman, and the son was Muhammad ibn Uthman as-Samman. These are the very first two Naib-e Khas that we know after the Ghaibah or during Ghaibat-e Sughra. Now, such was the rank of these companions of the Imam, that for Uthman, the father, the 10th Imam has testified, the 11th Imam has testified, and so has the Imam of our time testified. And when we look at this, and we see that for Uthman, Imam Hassan al-Askari salawatullahi wasalamu alayh, as an example says, he is trustworthy. Allahu Akbar. When an Imam, Ma'asum Imam testifies of the trustworthiness of a person, we can only imagine his rank. And he has been testified by 3 Ma'asum, not 1. And Imam says he is trustworthy and honest. He is the trustworthy man of the past, meaning the 10th Imam, and the man of trust in my lifetime, that is during the 11th Imam, and after my death as well. So that is during the time of the 12th Imam. Whatever he says to you, Imam says, it is from us, the Ahlul-bayt. He is not saying anything from anyone else. Whatever he delivers to you, he does so from me. This is what the 11th Imam has given a testimony for Uthman ibn Sa'id, which is the first Naib-e Khas during Ghaibat-e Sughra. When Uthman passed away, there is a very interesting letter of condolence that the Imam of our time, Imam al-Hujjah Jalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif, has written to the son Muhammad ibn Uthman, who is the second Naib Khas, and Imam says, in consoling him over the death of his father, in a letter he says, may Allah reward and comfort you with the best. You are afflicted and we too are afflicted. His departure has distressed you and has distressed us, meaning the Ahlul-bayt also. May Allah please him in his final abode. It was from his perfect happiness that Allah gave him a son like you to succeed him after his death. Allahu Akbar. This is the Imam giving testimony for his second Naib, Khas. And this is how the Imam prepared people. There was very little movement and there are very little there is very little in history that is recorded as khutbah of the Imam, 11th Imam. However, despite all this, Allah tells us and promises us that they desire to put out the light of Allah with their mouths, but Allah will perfect His light, though the disbelievers may be averse. So Allah will perfect His life. And that is why we see that despite all that effort that the Banu Abbas and the tyrants of Banu Abbas had for the Ahlul-bayt, Imam Al-Hadi, the 10th Imam, has made arrangements for the marriage of the 11th Imam, from which was born the Imam of our time, the king of our time, the Qaim of Muhammad, the one who will establish justice until the day of Qiyamah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So how did the Imam make? The event is very interesting. How did the Imam arrange for the marriage of the 11th Imam, that is the 10th Imam? He calls Bishr ibn Sulaiman al-Nakhas, who is a descendant of Abu Ayyub Ansari, a companion, a trusted companion of Rasulullah, and he tells him that you are amongst our trustworthy and devoted Shia. And Imam tells Bishr, when he called him in the middle of the night and says, I want to confer upon you a secret that will surpass you and elevate your status from amongst all Shia. Imam wants to give him a secret. And one of the qualities of a Shia is to protect the secrets of the Ahlul-bayt. So he very readily accepted, and Imam wrote a letter in very fine Roman script. We must also understand that the Imam of the time is not limited by language or any other thing that will prevent him from knowing what his people want to talk to him about. The Imam has access and is knowledgeable in all languages. There is no restriction of language. But Imam here is writing a letter in pure Roman script, very fine Roman script, and sealed the letter and gave it to Bishr. Imam also gave him some money, 200 and some dinar to Bishr, and said he was to go to Baghdad from Samara. Imam was in Samara. He sent Bishr to Baghdad and told him to be there by the river Euphrates and wait for a particular time in which he will see that there will be captives who will be brought by boat through the Euphrates. And on this particular day, around noon time, you do not make haste. Watch from a distance. You will see and keep an eye on a person who is selling these captives, and specifically one who is called Umar ibn Yazid al-Nakhas, who is going to be selling these captives. Keep an eye on him. He will be having certain bondmaids, of whom is one particular bondmaid who will be wearing 2 thick silks. When you see this, she will see that she is refusing for any of the buyers to examine her or touch her. None can go near her. So much so that one of the buyer will come to her, to Umar, and tell him that I want to purchase this particular bondmaid for 300 dinars. When you see that happen, watch carefully, Imam tells Bishr, and you will see her response. She will say to him that even if you come in the face of Sulaiman ibn Dawood and come with a kingdom like Sulaiman, I will not be accepting you to be buying me. When you see this, and Sulaiman's kingdom is known that there is none other who was given the kingdom the way Nabi Sulaiman was given, and she tells him this, when this happens, Imam tells Bishr, you go to Umar, the seller, and tell him that you want to deliver a particular letter, this letter that I am giving you, to this bondmaid. If she accepts to be purchased by the author of this, then Bishr is a representative and authorized to purchase her. When Bishr gave this letter This lady took the letter, put it on her head, put it on her eyes. She began crying and became restless and insisted on Umar to sell her to this particular man who is representing the author of this letter without having opened the letter. And when this happens, they negotiated to the price that the Imam had given, 200 and some dinars, whatever the amount was, and he purchased this lady. And as they were going, Bishr sees that this lady has become so anxious and is crying so much, and she is actually putting that letter that he had given her, delivered to her, on her body, upon her eyes. She used to kiss it all the time. So Bishr asked, "Oh, my lady, do you even know the author of this letter?" And now is when this lady, who is the mother of our Imam Narjis Khatun, is the one who is narrating the entire event of how she has gotten to where she has gotten. She said, "I am Malika, the daughter of Yeshua, son of the Caesar of Rome. My mother is a descendant of Shamun, the Hawari of Nabi Isa alayhi salam. My grandfather wanted to marry me," my grandfather, that is the Caesar of the time, "wanted to marry me to one of his nephews when I was 13. At that time he raised a throne which was 40 steps high." And this is the description she gives, that it was decorated with the best of jewels and the crosses and everything in a Christian manner. There was a party where the marriage was supposed to have taken place. And when the bridegroom came, there were 300 priests and monks. There were 700 elite of the kingdom and 4,000 military chiefs and tribal leaders that were invited and had gathered for this particular marriage. This throne, that is what we call a manvo in our language, was adorned with variety of jewels. However, when the bridegroom climbed this manvo, the whole thing crumbled down, fell down, and the groom died instantly. When that happened, the archbishop of the church warned them that this is the demise, a sign of the demise of Christianity, as well as all the royalty that comes with it in the Roman Empire. However, my grandfather was adamant that he should not make this into this sort of a myth, and therefore he invited the brother of the bridegroom to marry me, another nephew. And when the throne was remade and when he climbed, again the same thing happened, and this man also died instantly. When that happened, all the guests ran away from the place in fear that what may come from Allah is unknown, and therefore the marriage was put off. However, Narjis Khatun says, "I was scared and I locked myself in my room. And when I locked myself in my room, I saw in my dream that there is a pulpit that has been made of light. It crosses even the clouds and beyond into the heavens. And I saw at the base of that pulpit Nabi Isa together with Shamun and a number of Hawari at my grandfather's place." This pulpit was raised in the same place where the throne was built by my grandfather, the Caesar. And Nabi Isa was standing by the side, and I saw at that moment that Rasulullah Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Amir al-Mu'minin Imam Ali alayhi salam, and a number of his sons alayhimus salam come. And when Nabi Isa saw them coming, he went forward to welcome them. At that time, Rasulullah himself proposed to Nabi Isa and told him that he wanted to ask for the hand of Narjis Malika, granddaughter of the Caesar, for Abu Muhammad Imam Hassan al-Askari salawatullahi wasalamu alayhi. Shamun accepted the honor, And at that time, I saw in my dream, she says, that Rasulullah climbed the mimbar and spoke about this particular marriage, and then that was the end of the dream. However, when I woke up, she says, I was very scared and I did not say about my dream to anyone. But at that time, my heart was pounding with the love of Abba Muhammad. And I wanted to be with him, and I fell sick because of that and became very weak. So much was my weakness that everyone in my family thought that I was about to die. And at that time, my grandfather came to me and said, make your last wish before you die so that we may fulfill it. And at that time I said, please release the Muslim prisoners that are rotting in your jails and being tortured in your prisons, and so that maybe Nabi Isa and his mother may give me shifa. It is at this time, she says, on the next night, I saw for 14 nights that Janab Fatimatu Zahra salawatullahi wasalamu alayha and Janab Maryam, mother of Nabi Isa alayhi salam, come to me for 14 consecutive nights in my dream and speak to me. And at that time I asked, she says to Janab Fatima, that why does your son not visit me in my dream? And Janab Fatima says, if you have an iota of any form of shirk or polytheism of any form, he will not come to you. It is at that time, she says, I accepted Islam on the hands of Fatimatu Zahra salamullahi alayha, and my witness was Janab Maryam. So Bishr said, having gone through all this, how did you end up as a captive? And she narrates that after this acceptance of Islam, Abba Muhammad used to visit me every night, and he used to converse with me, and he informed me that on a particular day my grandfather was to send an army to fight the Muslims, and that I should join that army without identifying myself. And when I joined that army, he told me which particular route to take and go. And it is at this time that I went and we were captured, and you saw me here as you saw me by the Euphrates. So Bishr asked her, Janab Narjis, that you are from the Roman Empire. You are a Roman. Now Roman Empire does not mean Rome that we know. Roman Empire was vast. And when she was brought, she says, you are a Roman by birth and by culture. How do you speak such fluent and good Arabic? And she says, my grandfather was insistent that we all study and acquire knowledge. And therefore, he had insisted that I also learn the Arabic language. And that is how I know so much of Arabic. Bishr says that we went straight to Samara thereafter and went straight to the house of the 10th Imam. Imam was very pleased to receive her. And in that pleasure he offered, oh my lady, do you want me to give, I want to confer a goodness and a bounty upon you. What do you want? Can I give you 10,000 dinar as a gift, or do I give you a happy tiding of eternal grandeur, meaning give you something which is better than any amount? And Narjis says, I want the tiding of a son that will be born through me. And Imam says, rejoice the tidings of a son who will rule the world from east to west and will fill the earth with equity and justice as it will be filled with oppression and corruption. Having done that, Imam called her, the 10th Imam called his sister Hakima Khatun and told her to take Narjis to her house and show her the traditions of the Ahlul-bayt and train her for that, and said that the Imam of the time will be born through her, and she is going to be the mother, and the Imam that will be born the way Nabi Musa alayhi salam was born. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now we see that in the Imam's birth there is a lot of ambiguity. Some say he is not born, some say he will be born, some say he is already born, and this discussion has been going on for 12 centuries and will go on till the Imam removes the veil of Ghaibah. However, there are many reasons for this. One is the protection of the Imam, that the situation and the circumstances were such that Imam had to protect the living of the Imam. And therefore, this was a very secretive issue. But however, amongst all the dates, the most popular date that has been accepted by our ulama as the birthday of the Imam of our time is the 15th day of Shaban in the year 255 Hijrah at the time of dawn. Now when we look in Islamic fiqh, there are certain ways of establishing the lineage of a person. And there are general rules. The three general rules are: when an elderly midwife, who is known as a Qabila in the Islamic terms, testifies that she herself was the midwife and welcomed the child of the particular lady, then her witness is accepted as final. One. The second general rule is when the father himself claims the parent, being a parent to the child and is not disputed. And the third is the general rule of the two witnesses in Islam that we know of. These are basic rules that have many other branches also, and this is not to be taken as the final rule. There are many other rules as for jurisprudence is concerned. However, our subject is to establish the lineage of the Imam of our time. When we look at the Imam of our time, the first and foremost testimony comes from a Ma'asum Imam, our 11th Imam, who is also the father of the 12th Imam. So one, he is a Ma'asum Imam. Two, he is the father of the Imam. Third, the Qabila, the midwife who received the Imam of her time, was none other than Hakima Khatun, who was a daughter of an Imam, sister of an Imam, aunt of an Imam, and the midwife of an Imam. Then we have the testimony of Narjis Khatun herself, that the Imam was born to her. And there are very many close Sahaba and companions of the 11th Imam who actually met the 12th Imam, were introduced to the 12th Imam by the 11th Imam himself. Muhammad ibn Abdullah al-Mutahhari says, after Ghaibat-e-Sughra had become, that one day he went to Hakima Khatun and asked her about the birth of the 12th Imam. And Hakima Khatun explained the entire concept and reality of Imamat by saying that there is only one distinction given to two brothers, and that is Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein alayhimus salam, that they were two brothers and both were Imams. None other than them were Imams, were brothers. They were all the lineage of Imam Hussein alayhi salam after that. And she says and explains that the lineage of Imam Hussein alayhi salam was given distinction above the lineage of Imam Hassan alayhi salam. There is another discussion we will do inshallah. Third, she says that the lineage of Nabi Harun was above the lineage of Nabi Musa, although Nabi Musa had wilaya upon Harun. Similarly, the lineage of Abu Abdullah has a distinction over the lineage of Imam Hassan alayhi salam, although Imam Hassan alayhi salam was an Imam to Imam Hussein alayhi salam also. So, and then she says that there is going to be a trial for the Ummah, where there are going to be doubters about the Imam, where there are going to be imposters calling themselves for an Imam. And then there are going to be those who will verify. And she says that those who will verify will find salvation. So Muhammad says, I asked her, so was there a son for Imam Hassan al-Askari alayhi salam? And she says, I am giving you the entire principle. If the Imam did not have a son, then who is your Imam? And when the earth cannot be devoid of a hujjah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at any moment, in any given moment. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. It is on the night of 15th Shaban. The last moments, I will finish up very quickly. It is the night of 15th of Shaban when Hakima Khatun was visiting the 11th Imam. And she used to visit her nephew, but respect him as her Imam as well, and give him the respect. It is at that time, and when it was time for Maghrib on the 15th night of Shaban, she wanted to go back home. When the Imam of our time, the Imam of that time, the 11th Imam, asked her, "Oh aunt, please remain behind, because tonight the promised son is going to be born. The promised Imam of the time, the Qaim, is going to be born. So please stay behind." So Hakima Khatun says, "I asked my Imam, may my mother and father be a sacrifice for you? Who is it going to be born of?" And she said, "Of course it is going to be born through Narjis, none other." So he says, "But there are no signs in Narjis that she is even pregnant and that she is about to deliver a child." And Imam explains to Hakima Khatun and says, this is in similarity to the same things that happened to the mother of Nabi Musa alayhi salam, when there were absolutely no signs of birth before the birth of Nabi Musa, because of the circumstances and protection of the hujjat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it is at that time, she says that I did my amal, and after Salatil Layl, when it was about time for dawn, she says that I heard Narjis mourning, so I went near her when she was about to deliver, and immediately there was a veil of light that came between the two of us. I could no longer see Narjis. When I could no longer see Narjis, I ran to the 11th Imam and said, "Oh my nephew, I can't see Narjis at all." And says, "Go back, you will now see her." It is at that time, she says, that I saw a child which was full of light that had been born, and that is the child who was in sajda saying, "Subbuhun Quddusun Ya Rabbal Malaikati war Ruh." And it is at that time that she heard that the Imam of our time was not only born, but he testified to the oneness of Allah, the risalat of Rasulullah, and took the names of all the 11 Imams. And when it came to his own imamat, he made a dua to Allah, and he says, "Ya Allah, fulfill me with my promise, complete my enterprise for me, strengthen my position, and fill the earth through me with equity and justice." This is how the Imam of our time was born. It is after this that we see that when Imam Hassan al-Askari sees and receives his child, that Ruhul Qudus comes and takes away the Imam of our time. And Narjis Khatun wails and says, "Oh my master, how am I going to live without my child?" And Imam says, "The way Nabi Musa was returned to his mother, so will your son be returned to you, and so will he suckle only from you." This is how the birth of the Imam was. Inshallah, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the tawfiq to be able to understand the principles of Imamat, to be able to understand the teachings of Islam that were taught to us through the Ahlul-bayt alayhimus salam, and implement them in our lives. Ameen Ya Rabbal Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa alihi at-tahirin. Rahmallahu man kara al-Fatiha.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كل وليك وجبر بن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرزك توعا وتمتعه في طويلا برحمتك يا السلام عليك يا رسول الله. السلام عليك يا نبي الله. السلام عليك يا أبا الحسن يا أمير المؤمنين ويا سيد الوصيين. السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين. السلام على حسن المصطفى ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا وارث عظم صفة الله. السلام عليك يا وارث نوح النبي الله. السلام عليك يا وارث إبراهيم خليل الله. السلام عليك يا وارث موسى كليم الله. السلام عليك يا وارث عيسى روح الله. السلام عليك يا وارث محمد حبيب الله. السلام عليك يا وارث أمير المؤمنين عليه السلام ولي الله. السلام عليك يا ابن محمد المصطفى. السلام عليك يا ابن علي المرتضى. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء. السلام عليك يا ابن خديجة الكبرى. السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموتور. أشهد أنك قد أقمت الصلاة وآتيت الزكاة وأمرت بالمعروف ونهيت عن المنكر وأطعت الله ورسوله حتى أتاك اليقين. فلعن الله أمة قتلتك ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله أشهد أنك كنت نورا في الأسلاب الشامقة والأرحام المطهرة لم تنجسك الجاهلية بأنجاسها ولم تلبسك من مدلهمات ثيابها. وأشهد أنك من دعائم الدين وأركان المؤمنين. وأشهد أنك الإمام البر التقي الرزي الزكي الهادي المهدي. وأشهد أن الأئمة من ولدك كلمة التقوى وأعلام الهدى والأروة الوثقى والحجة على أهل الدنيا. وأشهد الله وملائكته وأنبياءه ورسله أني بكم مؤمن وبإيابكم موقن بشرائع الدين وخواتيم عملي. وقلبي لقلبكم مسلم وأمري لأمركم متبع. صلوات الله عليكم وعلى أرواحكم وعلى أجسادكم وعلى أجسامكم وعلى شاهدكم وعلى غائبكم وعلى ظاهركم وعلى باطنكم. زيارة الأكبر الإسلام دوس قربة الله. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليك يا ابن نبي الله. السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا ابن الحسين الشهيد. السلام عليك أيها الشهيد. السلام عليك أيها المظلوم وابن المظلوم. لعن الله أمة قتلتك ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. زيارة تمام شهداء كربلاء قربة الله. السلام عليكم يا أولياء الله وأحباءه. السلام عليكم يا أصفياء الله وأبداءه. السلام عليكم يا أنصار دين الله. السلام عليكم يا أنصار رسول الله. السلام عليكم يا أنصار أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليكم يا أنصار فاطمة سيدة النساء العالمين. السلام عليكم يا أنصار أبي محمد. الحسن بن علي الولي الزكي الناصح. السلام عليكم يا أنصار أبي عبد الله، بأبي أنتم وأمي طبتم وطابت الأرض التي فيها دفنتم وفزتم فوزا عظيما، فيا ليتني كنت معكم فأفوز معكم. زياد أبو الفضل العباس الإسلام دوسة قربة إلى الله. السلام عليك يا أبا الفضل العباس ابن أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا ابن سيد الوصيين. السلام عليك يا ابن أول القوم إسلاما وأقدمهم إيمانا وأقومهم بدين الله وأحوتهم على الإسلام. أشهد لقد نصحت لله ولرسوله ولأخيك فنعم الأخ المواسي. فلعن الله أمة قتلتك، ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك، ولعن الله أمة سمعت، وأمة تحلت منك المحارم وانتهكت حرمة الإسلام. فنعم الصابر المجاهد المحامي الناس والأخ الدافع عن أخيه المجيب إلى طاعة ربي راغب فيما زهد فيه غيره من الثواب الجزيل والثناء الجميل. وألحقك الله بدرجة آبائك في جنات النعيم. اللهم إني تعرضت لزيارة أوليائك رغبة في ثوابك ورجائك ورجاء لمغفرتك وجزيل إحسانك، فأسألك أن تصلي على محمد وآل الطاهرين، وأن تجعل رزقهم دارا وعيشي بهم غارا وزيارتي بهم مقبولة وحياتي بهم طيبة، وأدرجني إدراج المكرمين، واجعلني ممن ينقلب من زيارة مشاهد أحبائك مفلحا منجها قد استوجب غفران الذنوب وستر العيوب وكشف الكروب، إنك أهل التقوى وأهل المغفرة. السلام عليك يا أهل بيت النبوة جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء. السلام عليك يا معين الضعفاء والفقراء. السلطان أبا الحسن يا علي بن موسى الرضا، كن شفيعنا وشفيع والدينا في يوم الجزاء. السلام عليك يا أختك فاطمة المعصومة جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا مولانا يا صاحب العصر والزمان. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن. السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان. أجل الله فرجك وسهل الله مخرجك، ورزقنا في الدنيا زيارتك وفي الآخرة شفاعتك. السلام عليك يا أهل بيت النبوة جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته.